Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to the new video. I'm the Casual Racing Gamer, and today we are talking about GT7. We are talking about it. Is it an arcade racer? Is it a racing sim? Is it a Simcade? We'll talk about iRacing and a couple of different other games and why none of that stuff should even matter to you. But I am going to give you my opinion on what I think the differences between the three types of racing games are and why we can't really categorize everything within one specific category. So, I get a lot of comments when I do GT7 videos, and this is in PSVR2. This was a daily race B. The thing I want to talk about is because I get a lot of questions, and I also get a lot of comments when I compare GT7 to iRacing, and people are like, oh, how can you compare that arcade game? Oh, that's just an arcade game. How can you compare it to a real racing game? Well, number one is nothing is superior, and you should never feel inferior to race one of these games. So let me just start off by saying that. Now, an arcade racing game. Let's talk about, and again, this is just going to be my opinions. Everyone has a right to their opinion, so my opinion is not right or wrong, just like your opinion is not going to be right or wrong. I'm just going to give you my opinion. You can disagree with me. You can leave me a comment. You can let me know what your thoughts are on these this topic in general. But I just thought I would address it. So, to me, an arcade racing game does not care about any physics of an actual car itself. We're talking about games like Need for Speed, Hot Wheels Unleashed, games like that where the car physics play absolutely no role in how you actually play the game, how you compete in the game, and how to be successful in the game. They don't care about weight distribution. They don't care about trail braking. They don't care about, how well you accelerate and playing with your acceleration. None of that stuff matters in an arcade racing game. GT7, 100%, all that stuff matters. So right off the bat, this is not an arcade racing game, okay? So as many people want to say it, just, I don't know, some people just like to knock games just to feel better about what they actually race. GT7 is not an arcade racing game. They're all games. Let's get that out of the way. Let's first understand that we're talking about a video game. None of these are real. Now understand, people are also racing with different types of wheels. People are racing on a $100 wheel. People are racing on a $5,000 wheel. So if you're racing on a $100, $150 wheel, is that really going to be a simulation of really driving a car? Absolutely not. You're not getting any kind of force feedback like you get in a real car. Some of these wheels are gear driven, and you have this feeling that it's not even smooth when you turn. So right off the bat, that's obviously not going to give you that real simulation of driving a car. There's a lot of things that affect how a real simulation can be a real simulation. Now, GT7, things matter in GT7. Weight distribution, braking, tire wear, tires that you use, all of this stuff matters. That's what makes a simulation. How real it is to the real life driving of a car, they're all games. None of them are going to be exactly how you drive a real car. Obviously, there's a lot more involved in driving a real car, like G-forces. You're not going to feel anything that you'd feel in a car and things like that. But when we take things like that out of the way, now let's talk about iRacing, right? People say iRacing is one of the most realistic racing simulators you can drive. And I think overall, when the things that iRacing offers is it 100% gives you a very real simulation experience. Now, what makes some things in GT7 not as real? Well, you have things like ghosting in racing when cars like spin out or crash, where you can actually drive through them when you're in a race. To me, obviously, that's not a real simulation of a driving experience. So there are things they put in the game to keep plays interesting, but the simulation part is still the way you drive the car, the way cars handle. And people will argue, well, there's too much understeer, there's too much oversteer, and things like that. All cars, all games drive differently. You know what I mean? ACC is a good driving racing simulator. iRacing is a good racing simulator. But both games drive differently. Cars in both games drive differently. Tire wear is going to handle differently in all different simulations. No matter how good a simulation is, it's still a simulation. Things are always going to change. Now, take iRacing, for example. One of the best, if people want to say one of the most realistic simulating driving games, one of the best, and I love iRacing. I play iRacing myself. But if you start in the lower levels, we can call iRacing a Simcade, right? It's a mix of a sim racing game and an arcade. Why? Well, because you have quick repairs in lower levels of iRacing, which means if your car gets damaged and you go to fix your car in the pits, well, you have a quick repair, sometimes 2 quick repairs, and you can just quick repair and you don't have to wait the actual time that it would make you help fix the car that it's required, and it's like a matter of seconds, and no matter how totaled your car is, it fixes the car. That's an arcade move right there, right? That's an arcade. So I guess iRacing can be considered a Simcade depending on the level of driver that you are. And if you're doing rookie class, or I even think the one class above it, Class D might also have a quick repair. So it also caters to that arcade type of thing where things are simpler and help people get better. Now, I do wish GT7, as you went to the higher lobbies, I wish it got rid of ghosting. I think ghosting is not a friend of racing, and I think it does help people at lower levels. But I think there should be a point where that stuff just stops and they need to remove it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm definitely not a fan of it. I think it's good for lower level lobbies, but once you get to a certain level, ghosting is very confusing because you don't know if a car is going to actually ghost. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes you wreck through it. Sometimes you think it's going to ghost and you have to assume it's going to ghost, and you keep driving straight to that car and hopefully it ghosts and you drive through it. To me, that affects a race and not in a good way. What makes iRacing also more realistic, one thing I love about iRacing is in your warm-up lap, or if it's a rolling start, you have full control of your car the entire time. In a rolling start, in a warm-up lap, anytime any of that happens, you control your car. The computer never has control of your car. Same thing if you have to pit. If you have to pit in iRacing, you have to drive actually into the pits. The computer never takes over the driving of your vehicle, and you need to actually maintain pit speed. You need to actually pull your car into your pit stop, and you need to actually brake and everything. So to me, that makes things more realistic overall. But again, we're talking about simulation of driving, and I think GT7 does an awesome job of driving, of being a simulator for driving. Also, if you're in VR, I think that is the next level of actually becoming a simulator. You know, if you're sitting there on a 25-inch or 27-inch monitor in front of you, is that really giving you a true experience? Now, VR isn't giving you a true experience because the field of view isn't correctly set, you know, to the way you would actually see in real life. But you're actually in the car, you're in the vehicle, you get a feeling of overall being in a real car, driving in a real car, handling, you know, where you sit in a car on the right side, on the left side, in the middle. That all, to me, helps with being a realistic driving game, to be in VR, in the actual car, and sitting where you actually sit. GT7 luckily gives us that. It's also a reason why I'll never play a racing game on my Xbox Series X, because we don't have VR, and to me, that is the whole package with VR and sim racing and things like that. Now, do I recommend GT7 or iRacing? That's up to you. I can't really recommend one over the other. It's the type of racing that you want. Both games offer great fun experience. If you want a true overall package where every single thing can be more realistic, like I said, the things that iRacing offers, then iRacing is it for you. If you just want to have fun, if you want to be able to handle a car the way it should be handled, but again, both games, you still have to know how to handle, drive a car, know your braking zones. They match pretty close to both games with the cars you drive. Really, a lot of opinions, what you want to do, how much money you want to spend. If you already have a PlayStation, then you know, it doesn't pay to go out and buy a whole PC and all of that. It comes down to your financials, what you want to do. If you can own both, that's more winner for you. But for me, VR is the way to go if you're going to sim race. GT7 is an awesome game. You can call it an arcade game. No, actually, you can't call it an arcade game. You want to call it a Simcade? Sure, but then the Simcade part of iRacing is there as well. That's just my opinion. You guys can leave your opinion down below. Love to hear what you have to say. Thumb up the video, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. We out of here. Peace.